Good evening, everybody. People of Facebook, people everywhere, people watching us. We are already in the third day of FestivalYA powered by Carturesti. And tonight we have a very special guest who is here with us online thanks to Storia Books publishing house, which is the publishing house that brought us the translations of so far 2 of her very lovely books. And I'm very honored to welcome among us Tricia Levenseller. Welcome, Tricia.
Thank you for having me. I'm excited to be here.
We're also very excited to have you. So just before we start, I'm just going to say a couple of words about how this is going to work. First of all, allow me to introduce myself. My name is Julia. I'm a translator and a journalist, and I'm going to be your host tonight. But I wouldn't like, for my part, to be super important. I would like our fans here who joined us and who love your works and definitely would love to talk to you, to be the center of tonight. So this is me encouraging them to tell you things, to ask questions, and generally to voice their curiosities, because it doesn't happen every day or every night that we have such a lovely author among us. So whoever feels that they have a question or anything to tell Tricia, kindly raise your hands by showing them to me, or by using the Zoom option, or write in the chat, or whatever, signal me by using any kind of signals I can read, and I will for sure give you the word and you will be able to say something. So reactions are very, very well encouraged. I can already see that I have hands. And I appreciate that. That's super lovely. Thank you so much for being so proactive. But I'm going to take the opportunity to ask something because I'm the moderator and I can. Tricia, once again, welcome. For my part, I'm super curious as to what motivated you to start writing and to become a professional writer. This is a question that I'm sure you're getting very often, but I'm curious.
That's okay. It's a question I like to talk about, so I'm happy to talk about it. So I actually hated reading growing up, absolutely hated it. And the reason for that is because in the public school system, all the books that I was required to read were about boys, written for boys, about boys, by boys. And I never saw myself in books growing up. And it wasn't until I was in high school that I picked up my first Tamara Pierce book titled Alana, and read that. And I saw myself in a book for the very first time. And not only that, it was one of my first fantasy books. It was my first romance. You know, it had all these incredible elements that I just immediately fell in love with. And I realized, oh, there's different kinds of books. And my whole life, I've been reading the wrong kind. Here's something that I can read and love and enjoy. And after reading that and binging all the books like it that I could get my hands on for a few years, I realized that I wanted to share my own stories so that we could have books written by women, for women, about women. It is my biggest goal and passion to empower women and encourage girls and really everybody to follow their dreams and do things because they want to do them and not because anybody expects that of them or to tell them to do it. So that's kind of what I'm all about.
Yeah, I can definitely understand you. I think we can very much relate because in public schools in Romania, we pretty much have the same situation.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Most of our authors are also guys. Most of the times they are also writing about stuff we can't really relate anymore to. So
Yes.
I think that pretty much we're having the same struggles.
I'm so sorry.
Yeah, and there's a special bonus to you from myself because I also love Tamora Pierce, and
Oh,
the Joanna
awesome.
quadrilogy is super awesome, and I recommend
Oh,
it to
good.
anyone.
Definitely.
Yeah, thank you for reminding me about that.
Absolutely.
Goody. So now that we are a bit warmed up, I can see that I already have a lot of hands. So I will just try to name you guys so that we have just a tiny, tiny bit of order, and then you are more than welcome to ask your questions. So we are going to start with Patri Books.
So I'm so excited and my heart beats very, very fast right now. I have only 2 questions, and the first question is, where did you get the idea to write The Shadows Between Us?
So I sold this book without telling my publisher what it was about. And what I mean by that is when they bought my 3rd book, Warrior of the Wild, they also bought a to be determined book. So they like bought a book in advance, and then we would discuss what it was going to be about later, kind of situation, if that makes sense. So it came time for me to pitch a new idea for this book that they had already bought. And I'd pitch a couple ideas, and my editor said, no, we don't like those. So I had to hurry and come up with something, because it's my goal to always do a book a year for my fans, so they're not waiting so long for books to come out. And so I sat there and I thought to myself, okay, what are things that I love to read about in books? Because you should always be writing what you love to read. That's kind of how it works, right? At least for me. And what immediately came to my mind was bad boys. I love me a good bad boy, like the Darkling from Leigh Bardugo's books, or Damon Salvatore from the Vampire Diaries. I just love these dark, bad boys. And I thought, I want to do my own story with a bad boy. But as I was thinking about it, I realized I wanted to write a romance. And there was little point in writing a romance if there wasn't a possibility of both characters having happily ever at the end. So I thought, okay, what's a believable way that I can have a girl possibly actually end up with a bad boy in the end? And I realized the only way it would work is if she was bad too. So I crafted a bad protagonist to go with my bad boy so that I could write a villain romance. And that's where the idea came from.
Okay, and the second question is, when did you write your first book?
When? Oh, okay. So my first book that I ever wrote never got published. Daughter of the Pirate King is my first US published book, and it was my 4th book that I actually wrote. So my very first book I wrote when I was 18 years old from start to finish. It was an urban fantasy about a girl in leather who goes out at night and slays demons. It was very like, so done, right? So done before. But it was the book that got me started. It was the book that taught me how to write a novel, how to finish a novel. I got an agent with that book. So that was way back in, what year would that have been? 2010 is when I wrote my first book. And then my first book didn't actually release, my 4th book, Daughter of the Pirate King, until 2017. So it took a little while and 4 books before one finally worked out.
So thank you so much for answers. I love you.
You're welcome. Thank you.
You're
thank
amazing.
You. So nice to meet you.
Me too.
Thank you, Tricia. Thank you, Patri. And now we have Daliana.
Hi.
Hi.
First of all, I want to say that I'm so excited to be here and to talk to you because I'm a huge fan of you.
And thank you.
I love Shadow Between Us, and it was such an amazing book. I read it in just one day. I can stop.
Oh, wow.
Thank you. I want to know how it is. And now my first question is that you are thinking to write a sequel from Kalia's point of view.
Oh, okay. So I am not doing that. I am writing a companion novel, but it's going to be from Alessandra's older sister, Chrysantha's point of view. Every time I say this, people go, what? Chrysantha's so bad. Why would we want a book from her? That sounds awful. And my response to that is Alessandra is a really good actress to get what she wants. And so is her older sister. Her older sister is just as much of an actress, just as much of a manipulator. And we're going to kind of see how she's got to be the way she is. And she's going to have a dark romance of her own in the darkness within us. So I'm excited for that book. That book will come out in, let's see, what year is it? 2024 with my US publisher. So I hope other publishers will pick it up as well and do the translation. But yeah, that's what you'll have next in this universe.
Yeah, I heard about the Darker Within Us, and I hope that I could read it soon.
Yeah.
And, my second question is one that I like to ask every author that I met, and it's like your characters. Your character is based on real people, or it's just from your imagination?
So far, I have never written a character based on anyone. It's all just been from my imagination. And I think the reason for that is because I always start out with a plot, and then I kind of create my characters to make the plot more interesting. So I don't usually start with characters. I start with plot and then build my characters off of the plot. So they're usually just from my head.
And another question, if you don't mind.
Of course, go ahead.
It's not just a question. I want to ask you that you can give us some advice from youngest writers.
Yes, of course. So here's what I suggest. If you've never written a book from start to finish, set a goal to finish a book from start to write a book from start to finish. And the way you do that is by setting a daily writing goal. So for me, when I was very first starting to write, I said, okay, every weekday, Monday through Friday, I'm going to write 1,000 words a day, just 1,000 words. And that's because I had time to do that. Maybe you don't have so much time. So maybe you'll just say, I'm going to write 300 words a day. It doesn't matter. Just pick an amount that you think you can do and do it every day. Be consistent, hit that word goal. Because if you do that, after a few months, you're going to have a finished book. Sometimes it's really overwhelming when we think, oh, I have to write this big, long book. That's so scary. That's so hard. But you can write 300 words a day. That's no problem. So if you just set a goal, then you can feel good about finishing that goal every day and give yourself a little reward for doing it, a candy or something, right? Motivate yourself however you can. For me, I don't get to play on my Xbox, no video games until my writing's done. So whatever it is that motivates you, find that thing and use it. If you've already finished a book, written a book from start to finish, then my advice is to read as many books in the genre that you write as possible, because it's super important to be unique and to write new things that we haven't already seen in publishing. And you can't know that if you don't read lots of books in the genre that you want to write. So read lots in your genre and get that first book finished, are my advice.
Thank you for the answer. And
You're welcome.
I want to say that I love your background.
Thank you.
Yeah,
This is my
I
office.
recognize some titles. And
Do you? Good.
And yeah, that's all.
Okay, thank you.
Bye.
Goodbye.
Thank you so much for your questions, Daliana, and thank you, Tricia, for answering. I think we have Larissa now.
Hi, Tricia.
Hello, how are you?
I'm good, thank you. I just wanted to first say that I read and loved all the series, Daughter of the Pirate King.
Thank you.
It was amazing. I read like both of them in 2 sittings, I think. Like it was
wow.
one night and then another night. I just love the characters so much. So I have a question regarding that.
Sure.
Because earlier you said during your childhood you wanted to read about characters that you can relate to. Is there something in Alosa's personality that you can find in your own?
Oh, that's a good question. So, yes, definitely. I think it's hard to not write a character. Well, I think it's hard to write a character and not have them have at least a little piece of me in them, right? As for Alosa, I think for me, writing her was very freeing because she did things that I would never do. Excuse me. I can speak English. She is just so confident and so unafraid and fearless. And for me, I actually have pretty intense social anxiety. So writing her was very freeing for me to write somebody who would just do what she thought without like worrying about the consequences. So I think in a way, when I was writing her, I was writing the way I would like to be. And it helped me kind of grow because I wrote her that way. So I feel like Alosa is the way I think in my head. The way she acts, the way she reacts to things is like me internalizing and how I think and react to situations. But she just says them and does them, whereas I maybe would keep them inside because I'm too scared to be that honest or be that confident. So she's kind of like a externalization of my internalization, if that makes sense.
Thank you so much for answering.
You're welcome. Thank you for reading the books.
Very much, Larissa. And now I think we have Maria.
Yes.
Thank you.
Hi. I am a big fan of yours, and I
Thank
have
you.
read The Shadows Between Us in like a day, and
Oh, wow.
I cannot wait to read Daughter of the Pirate King.
Thank you.
Cannot wait to buy it. I'm so excited, and there are a dozen questions going through my head right now, but I will minimalize it to two.
Okay.
Almost three. So the first one would be, how did you come up with the idea of the ending, like the plot twist at the end?
Oh, for The Shadows Between Us? Oh, okay.
Yes.
So I actually came up with that first. So I sat there and I was like, okay, I need to come up with a really good twist. Like, this is technically a murder mystery on top of being a romance, right? And I won't spoil anything when I talk about it. But basically what I did was I have a little sister who lives with me. And whenever I need help brainstorming something, I have her come and talk about the book with me so that we can figure it out. She's my sounding board. She's the person I can talk to help me come up with ideas and make sure my ideas are good. So I was just like, hey, I need to, write this mystery and I want it to be good. I don't want it to feel like something you've seen before. So it was just something that I talked with her about and played around with. And when I felt like it was good enough, then I started writing. And so as I wrote, since I knew what the twist was, I could leave little clues as I was going along to build up to that ending. So when you're writing a mystery like that, I think it definitely helps to know the ending first. That way you don't have to do a ton of editing as you go along.
Okay, thank you. And the second question would be, why was the first sentence in the book so like out of the blue? For me at least, it was a shocking sentence. I've never seen anyone start a book with they've never found the body of the first boy I ever loved. And I was sitting there like, wow, that's shocking. How did she come up with that idea?
That is a good question. I remember sitting down with a blank page after my publisher said, yes, well, you're allowed to write that idea. And I thought, okay, this girl's going to be bad. I'm just going to go all out. I want it to be, shocking from the start. I want to shove her personality at you from the start so that you get a sense of this girl. Because it's a little tricky to write bad characters as protagonists, as heroes that you want to root for, So one of the things that I think helped with that was just the sheer shock value of, oh my gosh, this is so different, right? But the first chapter of the book never changed. That was kind of the first way I wrote it as I was sitting there for the first time. I don't know what happened. I did it. It's one of the few times when the beginning of a book hasn't changed for me. I don't know. I just got really lucky. I just managed to really find Alessandra's voice from the beginning and just put her on paper. But it was also the most fun I ever had starting a book. So it was a fun experience for me.
Thank you. And if you don't mind, I think this is the question that everybody kind of has. Will we see more of Callias and Alessandra in the next book?
Oh, yes. They won't have a big role to play, but I'm going to try my hardest to give them a little cameo appearance so that you see them for a little bit. So that's my plan right now.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you so much for your questions, Maria. I just want to interfere for a tiny second to let everybody here know that besides having The Shadows Between Us translated and published in Romania last year, this year we were indeed very happy to welcome The Daughter of the Pirate King as well. It's fresh out of the print. It's been already delivered to the first people who pre-ordered it. So it's very, very, very new for the Romanian public. And we're super happy to also have it available. So I just wanted to make sure that everybody was aware of that. And everybody who was not aware of that can go to the website and check it out. Good. So yeah, we are very happy to have it. So that being said, I will pass the word to Alexia. I think it's your turn.
Hi. Thank you. So first thing I want to say hello and that I love you like anyone. But actually my question is not really from the book. It's actually from the dedication you made from The Shadow Between Us.
Okay.
Is the first quote. Actually, you said something about Slytherin, and
yes.
I'm a huge Harry Potter fan. So I want to ask you if and how did you make that? Because yeah, they definitely are Slytherins. You can say that for sure. But why the Slytherin there? Because I don't know if you're a Harry Potter fan, and I wanted to know that.
Yes, I am a huge Harry Potter fan. Absolutely love it. But I actually use J.K. Rowling's houses whenever I'm creating characters. I always sort them into their Hogwarts houses. It just helps me to figure out what's important to them and figure out a little bit more of their personality. It's just become kind of instrumental in helping me craft characters. So I almost always sort them into their Hogwarts houses. And this one is definitely a Slytherin romance with two Slytherin characters who are different in different ways, but definitely both are very ambitious and cunning. So yeah, that's why. It's just something I do when I'm creating characters.
Wow, so I'm gonna do that with my characters.
Do it.
That's super cool. And I wanted to ask you, if you make the Harry Potter quiz to them, I wanted to ask you, what house are you in? Because
I am also a Slytherin.
Yeah, me too.
Which is why I think my Slytherin books do better than my other books, because those characters are more me. Alosa from Daughter of the Pirate King is also a Slytherin. So I think if you guys like this book, you will like her in Daughter of the Pirate King too.
I already finished it.
Fantastic. Thank you.
Yeah, it was super good. I love them both. I can't wait for the second book in The Daughter of the Pirate King. So yeah, that were the questions. Thank you very much. I love you.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And now we will pass the mic to the other Alexia, because we had two apparently. Are you okay?
Hi.
Good.
Hello.
So I wanted to tell you first and for all that when I've read the book, The Shadows Between Us, I realized, something in my mind started to work when was the scene when Alessandra and Kilias were going undercover to that club. When you said that wearing that wig, that lighting wig, it reminded her of Landros.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, well, I think there must be something there. And then
you caught it. Good job.
Then I go on with the book, and I read the scene where it's saying that he's wearing that he's dyeing his hair.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, wait a second. I was like, I knew something, but I wasn't sure yet. And then when he's saying to her that is when she has to go from the palace, and he's saying something that he's going to come after her. and bring her back to the palace. I was like, but how? Because and I was like, wait, but what if that counselor kidnapped his brother, Kilias's brother, and raised him? Something like that was in my mind. And told him that he has to be on the throne and not Kilias, and he's still it, and they should kill Kilias, that he will be the king. And I was like, wait, but no, because I like Andros, and why? And yeah, why did you make Andros like the bad guy?
I think that it's best when characters you like turn out to be not who we think they are. Because if people seem bad from the beginning, it's obvious that they're going to be bad at the end, right? It's important to hide the mystery and not reveal it until the right moment, and just leave little clues here and there so that readers can figure it out on their own. And my goal is to always make you like all the characters, even the bad ones. Because I think, at least I love a good villain. Even if you're like, I want the hero to beat the villain, I still like a good villain, right? So I think it's important that even the bad guys get some love too. So I wanted to make sure to do that.
And I have one more question, and that's in this next book, we're going to get something from the past, more from the past of Alessandra and her sister. From her sister point of view.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. It's going to, like, you're not going to see like a ton of flashbacks or anything like that, but you know how Alessandra in The Shadows Between Us talks a little bit about her past, right? She talks about how her mother died when she was young. She talks about how her father ignored her, and how, things happened with Hector in the very first chapter. So you're going to get a little bit of that from Chrysantha, and she's going to talk about, well, here's what was happening to me when I was little. But it's not going to be like a flashback or on the page or anything. She's just going to kind of mention it a little bit here and there, just like Alessandra did. So you can kind of see why she's the way she is as you read her story and her romance with her love interest. So.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you for your questions, Alexia. Thank you, Tricia. And now we have Ezra. If you're with us, thank you.
Yeah. Hi. So I just want to say, first of all, I'm a very big fan. And I've been reading your books for years because I somehow got them on my hands in English.
Nice. So, thank you.
Daughter of the Pirate King was my first one, but I actually wanted to ask about Blade of Secrets because I managed to get my hands on an arc. I don't know how. But I did. And I wanted to ask about your experience with panic attacks, because I also have them, and I don't know, I've coincidentally been reading a lot of books with panic attack rep recently, and I wanted to know if you also had them and if you pulled on that for the book.
Yes, I absolutely did. I mentioned before that I have social anxiety. It's a lot better. Oh, I'm so sorry. My dog's going to be loud. It's a lot better than it used to be for me. But there was a time in my life when I would get panic attacks out of the blue, and it happened just after my brother passed away, and I was just in a very, very sad place, and there would just be times when I would start to hyperventilate, and I would feel super lost and like there was no way out. And because it's a very real experience that people have, I wanted to make sure to include that as part of Ziva's experience, because it was something I could relate to. And I think it's important to show that not all characters are neurotypical. We have, people with ADHD and people with OCD and all these other things who still have to fight life every single day and live. And I think that our representation is just as important. So yes, that's based on my own experiences, and that's why I wanted to put it in the book.
I really appreciated it. I think a lot of people who have them probably really appreciated it.
I'm so glad.
Yeah, and I also wanted to ask about any book recommendations, specifically relating to craft and writing.
Oh boy. Okay. All right. So confession, I don't read books on craft, but I have heard people rave about Save the Cat. for book writers. Just the story structure and everything. I've heard a lot of good things about that. Again, it's Save the Cat. I'll type it in the chat so that you can have that, if I can type, for novels. Okay. The other thing that I like to do as far as plot structure goes is the 7-point plot structure by Dan Wells. It's just like a little, it's a little YouTube video of him talking about it. It's not really in a book, but I definitely recommend checking out that one. The 7-point plot structure is something that I use pretty regularly. I just love that there's only 7 points to it. Save the Cat has like 32 points or something like that. So if you're like, I want lots of structure when writing, definitely check that out. But if you're like me, like, I just want a little bit of structure and then more freedom, I definitely recommend 7-point plot structure. So definitely check those out.
Thank you so much. And finally, I also wanted to know like a few of your favorite books within the fantasy genre, because I'm spotting a lot of favorites in your home library.
Oh, okay. Okay, my favorite fantasy books of all time. I'm going to say Grave Mercy. I'll type these out too so you guys can see them. By Robin Lefevers. This one's about assassin nuns in medieval France that serve a death god. Absolutely love it. And that's a trilogy. Each book is about a different girl. So they're like 3 standalones in a trilogy, right? Other things that I absolutely love are The Girl of Fire and Thorns by Ray Carson. Absolutely love that one. And then recently, a more recent read that I absolutely loved, I'm going to do The Merciful Crow by Margaret Owen. So if you like fantasy, these are all fantasy with romance and really cool magic. I definitely recommend checking them out.
Thank you so much. And thank you again.
You're welcome. Absolutely. Thank you.
I hope that everybody has been sharpening their pencils and taking a lot of notes. And now I will give the word to Ioana Albo.
Okay, hello.
Hello.
So before I ask my question, I would just like to say that even though it's like a kind of remark about the shadows between us, even though Alessandra didn't seem to have good intentions at first, I really liked her character. And I loved the fact that you managed to write a character who doesn't really, a female character who is out of the stereotypes, as if she doesn't depend on anyone, she can handle herself. She pretty much just goes out there and solves everything she has to solve. So yes, it was very satisfying to finally find a book and read a book where the female character doesn't necessarily depend on anyone, especially the love interest. So thank you.
Absolutely, thank you.
And now for my question, what impact do you think characters like Alessandra in the modern literature would have regarding social stigma towards women and female empowerment? And let's say that these books with these kinds of characters were in schools, taught to students.
Well, I don't know about you guys, but when I was in high school, people like to tell me things all the time about the way women should behave. And the interesting things about about what they would say is that they were so contradictory. You know, women who slept around are sluts, but women who don't have sex at all are called prudes, right? You lost, you know, damned if you do, damned if you don't, is a saying we have in the US. It doesn't matter what we did, women were always being treated unfairly, regardless of what they were doing with their bodies. And I thought, that is so stupid. That is so dumb. First of all, no one gets to tell me what to do with my body. And second of all, you can't have it both ways, you know? And I really wanted to call that out in this book. And so I made it a huge point to craft Alessandra's friends so that we could see a little bit of this. We have Alessandra, who has had many lovers. And we have Rhoda, who, you know, has only had sex with her husband. And then we have Hestia, no, not Hestia. Look, guys, I wrote this book a long time ago. I don't even remember the characters' names anymore. The point is, we have girls who are saving themselves for marriage, girls who are not, girls who are only having sex with men that they are in love with. And my whole purpose was to show it's all okay. It doesn't matter what you are doing with your body. It is your body to decide what to do with, and don't let anyone tell you differently or make you feel less for it. So yes, I wish this was talked about more in school. I wish this was especially talked about to men, since it's a lot of the times men who are saying these things about women and their bodies. And it's not for them to say that about our bodies. They need to focus on themselves and their bodies. They need to back off. So yeah, I kind of wish there was more discourse around this subject, because I think it's very important. And I think it's something that all teen girls experience in school, and just around other people their age. So yeah, that's how I feel about it. And that's why I wanted to make sure that that conversation was heavily focused on in the book.
Okay, thank you so much. And I actually realized that you tried to include characters with different history regarding partners, and it was very interesting. So thank you for answering my question.
Of course.
Thank you very much, Joanna, for your very interesting questions. And now we have Alex. Come on, Alexandra. I know you can do this.
Hi, so nice meeting you.
Hello, nice to meet you.
I will try to make it short and don't pass out.
Don't pass out. It's okay. I'm more scared of you than you are of me, I promise.
Okay. I don't have a question for you. I just want to thank you for creating such a badass character with my name.
Oh, you're welcome.
When I read the first sentence in the shadows between us, I was like, this is going to be great. This is for me. I will enjoy it. And I was right. I read it in the car, even though I have motion sickness.
Oh, I do too.
This is how great this book was for me.
Oh,
and I'm so sad that I can't read it again without knowing anything about it.
Oh, thank you so much. That is the highest praise.
Just to be surprised about it again. And I enjoyed the characters and the plot twists. And the ending was great. Such a great job. You are wonderful. And
thank you so much.
I loved it when I read it. I love you because you are such a great person. And when I heard you about talking about panic attacks, I deal with that too. And
I'm so sorry.
And OCD as well. And yeah, I think we need to create characters with that kind of traits, so I can read a book and don't feel like a weirdo for having it.
You're not a weirdo. I think it's a great reminder that there's so many of us that are going through this, but we just don't see as many books with it represented. So my biggest goal in doing that is helping other people feel not so alone and knowing that they're not alone, and keep fighting. It's going to be worth it in the end.
You achieved that with me. And I can't wait to read the next book that is coming to Romania, or it's already in it.
Yes. Thank you.
I think I would love it as well.
Thank you so much.
Thank you as well.
Thank you, Alex. And I think it's Karina's turn.
Hello.
Hello.
When I started The Shadows Between Us and I saw that quote by Damon Salvatore on the first page, that instantly made me very excited. And I was wondering, are any of your characters inspired by the Vampire Diaries characters?
So just in the sense that Damon Salvatore was part of my reason for wanting to write my own bad boy. I don't think he and Kalea share too many of the same traits, but he was definitely inspired by Damon Salvatore, just because Damon Salvatore is my favorite bad boy of all time. I'm absolutely obsessed with the Vampire Diaries TV show. Love it so, so much. And it seemed only natural that his quote go in the beginning of The Shadows Between Us.
Thank you very much. I also love The Vampire Diaries, my favorite TV show.
Oh, mine too. It's the best.
Thank you, Karina. Let me just check a bit the list. I think we have Maya, Mihaela.
Yeah. I don't know most English. I'm sorry, but I don't speak English very well.
That's okay.
I'm so excited. I love your book. I want to tell you that I'm high school on acting profile, and I wanted to sing to acting it. Yeah, unfortunately, we didn't have actors to fit in the role. Maybe in the future, with your concept, will be made a movie inspired by your book.
I really hope so. I do have a film agent who is taking my books out to producers. So they're actively trying to get my books made into movies or TV shows. But nothing has happened yet, but we are trying. It's totally out of my control. And there's a billion steps that have to happen before the books can get made into movies, but we are trying. So I hope someday. But even then, I have no say over who gets to, perform in the show, who the actors are, or anything like that. Basically, once your book gets made into a movie, the movie producers take full control over it, and the authors really don't have any say at all, which is why you have so many movies that are nothing like the books, because the authors don't really get to help with the making of the movies at all. So it's kind of sad, but it's also kind of exciting to see things adapted into movie format. So we're trying, but when it happens, I still will have no say, but I hope it does happen.
I hope. And I adore Alessandra Ripley. She is dumb like a rock. It's so funny.
Thank you. I do love a lot of her lines. She would just say them in my head and I would think, oh my gosh, you're so funny. And then I would write them down. It's almost like she would take control.
I love that.
Thank you.
That's it. I love you.
Thank you. Thank you. So good to meet you.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Maya. And now we have Diana Nicoleta.
Hi. And the first time I want to say I'm so excited. I'm so happy. And my big question is how happy you are that some teenagers, because of the books you wrote, for example, The Shadow Between Us, did they start writing their own books?
Oh, that makes me so happy to hear that teens are writing their own books. Honestly, I think writing is wonderful. As somebody who is scared of talking to people, it's nice to get to put my words down on paper so that I can still reach people through the written word and not have to speak so much because it is a little scary for me. And writing is just so powerful because of that. And if I inspire other people to write, then that makes me incredibly happy. So I'm very happy if anybody is inspired to write because of my books.
Oh, well, and the last question I think for this time is how it feels to create a word and share it the real world to the to teenagers and the people who don't know how who you are. Sorry, I have
no, you speak English very well. Don't be shy. You're doing great. It's a feeling unlike any other. I knew when I was trying to get published that being a writer was going to be wonderful, but it's even more wonderful than I could have ever imagined. So I definitely recommend it. As good as you think it's going to be even better. There's just really something special about getting your words to other people. There's something special about holding a book in your hands for the first time and seeing your name on it. It's an incredible feeling. It's especially because you have to work so hard to get published, and it's so incredible to see all that hard work pay off. I definitely recommend it, and it's very important not to give up, because you face so much rejection while trying to get published. I was told no so many times, hundreds and hundreds of times. But if I can do it, you can do it. So if writing is something you want to do, then please, please, please do it, and please don't give up, because it'll happen.
And finally, I want to tell you that I'm grateful to you for raising and making us find a place for our syllabus. For example, I create a reading club in my school, and
that's awesome.
And we don't have the courage, but the book's grave. It's me. The name of the club is Blood Readers, and
okay.
That wasn't a so good name, but me and my friend are agree with this name, and I want to thank you for everything you want. You make us so happy when you're writing a new book, and like the shadow between us.
You're gonna make me cry. Thank you so much. You are so sweet. Thank you. Have so much fun with your reading group, and good luck with your writing.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Diana. And I will just have a quick announcement for you guys. There are a lot of hands right now which are up, and we're sort of starting to slowly run out of time. So I know it's difficult. I know it's hard for you to focus. I know you want to say a lot of beautiful things, and I thank you for that. But try just maybe to be a bit briefer if you want your questions to reach Tricia in due time, okay? And now I'm going to give the mic to Alexandra Borbei.
Hi.
Hi.
I hope you're hearing me okay?
Yes, I can hear you just fine.
Okay, so my question is, was there a book that made you cry? And if so, what was it?
Oh my goodness, a book that made me cry. Oh, okay. Yes, I'm sure there is a book that made me cry. I tend to avoid books that make me cry because I hate crying while reading. Oh my gosh. I'm so glad I'm in my office right now. Okay. This is maybe super cliched, but I'm gonna say New Moon by Stephanie Meyer totally made me cry. Book 2 in Twilight. I sob every single time I read it, and I've reread it so many times, and I still love it, and I still cry every time I read it.
Oh, okay. I also want to say you have a great library.
Oh, thank you so much. I built these bookshelves actually with my dad. It was a fun project.
Yeah, it's very nice, and it was a pleasure meeting you.
You too. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Alexandra. And now we have Delia.
Hi.
Hi.
I wanted to say that The Shadow Between Us was the number 1 on my Goodreads last year. I loved it.
Oh, thank you.
So much, and I recommend it to my friend. This is why I don't have it here with me. And my question for you is, which one of your books do you wish to be the first to hit the big screen?
Oh my goodness. That is a really good question. So, wow. You're like asking me to choose a favorite. Okay, so I'm just going to say Warrior of the Wild, just because it's my monster book, and I think it would be way cool to see these monsters CGI'd on the screen. I think that would be really, really cool. So I'm going to go with Warrior of the Wild.
Thank you for your answer.
Thank you.
Thank you as well, Delia. Now we have Ralu.
Hi, Tricia. I really want to thank you for just letting me know Alessandra so well, because I really identify as her and I love her self-confidence, and she gave me a little of hers.
Oh, good.
After reading your book, The Shadow Between Us, I really started to know myself better, and I really wanted to step out of the crowd and just show the people that I can be more than just another human in this world that won't fit in with the others. And this book really helped me go through it, and because of this and how it started, I did start writing myself. And
oh, yay!
I have 14 years old, and I started writing something about gods, but all of my teachers say it's a little too mature for me. But I don't really think that is mature for me, because my protagonist is Selene, the Titan goddess of the moon, and she has something relatable to Alessandra, her self-confidence and her wild sense of just not being how her lovers want her to be. Like Alexandra did reject all of her boyfriends, and I think that Selene is that type who just jumps in a relationship only for fun and then leaves the guy behind, just showing how much power the woman can have within the man.
I love that. Thank you for sharing that with me. Good luck with your writing.
Thanks. I really love you and the way you're writing, and I can't wait to see Chrysanta's way of view over this little story of her life.
Thank you.
I hope you have a very nice day.
Thank you. You too.
Thank you, Ralu. Amalia, if you are there. Amalia Bolocan.
I'm here. Thank you. Hi, Tricia. I would first like to say I'm really excited and I'm nervous.
Oh, don't be nervous. It's okay.
Nice to meet you. And I want to tell you, I really love your book. From the first start, I loved it.
Thank
The Shadows
you.
Between Us made me feel really, really good and made me really happy. I really identified with Alessandra and her character. And my question is, what made you build a character strong and warrior like her, like Alessandra?
So I think Alessandra's power doesn't come from her physical strength, but from her mental strength. She's able to outsmart her enemies. She's able to trick people, manipulate them even. And I think it's really important that we don't always assume that just because somebody's physically strong, that means they're better than us. Too often I see, they're like, oh, we write stories about boys because they're stronger and they can actually do things. And I think that's so stupid. Because women can do incredible things. They can be physically strong, but we can also be mentally strong and emotionally strong. And I think that is just as important, and in some ways even more impressive. So I wanted to show that women don't have to be like men to be strong. And I think that was very important to me when writing this book.
I really love the way you write it, Alessandra, because you didn't make her the innocent girl that waits for the boy to save her and that.
Thank you.
And the last question is what were your first thoughts when you decided to start writing The Shadows Between Us? How you started?
Wow. My first thoughts, were that I knew I wanted to write a romance. I knew I wanted to write a villainous main character. And I knew I wanted to surprise people. I knew I wanted to write a character, a female character who's not like your average girl, someone who isn't completely selfless and isn't trying to do good all the time. No, she's looking out for herself because that's the way she has to be in her world. So yeah, I knew all that going into it.
Thank you for answering me. I love you really, really much.
You're
are
welcome.
an
Thank
amazing
you.
writer.
Thank you so much.
I can't wait to read your other books. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Amalia. Just a quick answer to the people who are anxious to get answers in the chat room. I am not picking everybody. There's just the Zoom application that shows me when you raised hands. So you're basically one after another. So it depends on when you raise your hand. That's the answer. So there's not my personal preference, just the AI doing the job. Okay. Good.
Can I say real quick, if we don't have time for
please,
everybody,
Tricia.
I'm putting my email in the chat. If I don't have time to get to your question, please email me your question and I'm happy to respond to you. So there's my email in the chat. Feel free to message me if we don't get to you, okay?
Amazing, Tricia. Thank you very much for that. I was
course.
just going to offer at the end to gather maybe the questions that are left, but thank you for taking the initiative.
Of course.
I promised Andrea, which was anyway the next one in line, but after Andrea, I would like to take just a small break to allow one of your translators who is present with us in this chat room to take the floor just for a couple of things. But now I will leave it to Andrea Mihai. Please, 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 very, very quickly.
I'll try my best. And I want to start off by saying sorry that I said that I want to be next. I had a bad day, and the thought that I was meeting you just put a smile on my face, and it got me anxious that I wouldn't get to talk to you. So I just, got the initiative that I don't really get. And I was just, you know what, just do it. So I just did. I wanted to ask you, how did you get the courage to first publish? Because I myself started writing something, I finished it, and I am really anxious that people may judge me, think it's dumb or stuff like that, and I just can't fight the anxiety. Like, I think you get
it's hard. Yeah, no, it's very hard. But I have a saying that I like to remind myself regularly, and that's any rejection of your work is not a rejection of you as a person. And remember that your self-worth is not dependent on whether or not you publish a book. Your self-worth is totally something that you hold inside of you and how you feel about you. And don't let anyone tell you anything bad about yourself, because it's not true, okay? So always remember to keep your work, your books that you write, separate from your feelings of yourself inside. And that's what I try to do every time I try to get a book published. Every time someone tells me no, I just go, okay, they're rejecting this idea, but they're not rejecting me as a person. I still have worth and I'm still important, and I need to remember that. So I encourage you to do the same.
I never thought of it that way. Then I wanted to ask, like, what made you want to write, and what made you have in mind the thought that, okay, I want to publish that. I'm sure I'm going to publish that. Yeah, I think you get what I'm going.
Yes, I do. At first, when I started writing, it was just for fun. It was just for me. But as I started writing more and more, and I realized that I felt like I had a message. Like I'm here to entertain. That is my number one goal, is to make people happy and get lost in a book. But I'm also here to hopefully help women see themselves more clearly and see how important they are, and that they don't need a man to tell them they're important for them to be important. And when I felt like I had that message that I really desperately wanted to share, that's when I was like, okay, this is serious now. This isn't just about me. This is about me hoping to help other people too. And I think once I reached that point, I realized I want to publish. I'm going to try to publish because it's important to me, but I also feel that it could be important to other people too.
Lastly, if I talked about my book or trying of a book, I would like to ask you, as a published author, what's your opinion on the title that I picked for my first said book? It's called the popular nerd. I know it sounds like weird, but I got this idea when I was like 15 in a camp. I just thought, okay, it's weird. It's me. I like it. Just.
I think it's fun because in some ways, people might think it's an oxymoron, right? Like those things don't usually go together, a popular nerd,
that's
right?
What I've been told.
So I think because it's surprising, it's very good.
I really appreciated your work. I have the book next to me, and that's how the book.
Oh, thank you. Thank you very much. Good luck with your writing.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Andrea, for sharing all of this with us. As I was saying, I would like to ask the daughter of the Pirate King's translator to share something with you, Tricia, now. And then I will kindly ask you to decide how many questions can we still pick up, so that I don't get to decide it, you get to decide it.
Okay. I have some time, so I can take more questions, definitely.
Okay, then we'll just set up a rule, but I'll just leave Maria Magdalena now to tell you something.
Hi, Tricia. Very nice
Hello.
to meet you. Hello.
So nice to meet you. Thank you for all your work.
Oh, thank you for providing us such a great book. It was a joy to translate. I didn't realize there were going to be so many people, but I'm feeling all the good vibes. And I'm so happy for the people that have already read the book. And I really hope that they will give as much love as they have with The Shadow Between Us.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, as a translator, as a young translator, I'm only 24.
Wow.
This is actually my first, thank you. This is actually my first YA book that I've translated.
I love that.
And it was an absolute joy. And I had so much fun translating it. And I wanted to thank you for giving me such a great piece of literature.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. It's such an honor to meet you. I appreciate it.
Thank you. Thank you so much. And I want to just mention the sass. Love me. Love me some sass. Love me some sass.
Thank you. Thank you. Me too.
Such a sassy and fearless girl. And I'm sure that the readers will surely enjoy her shenanigans.
Thank you so much.
And one last thing, because I want to give the platform to the rest of the readers. I want to say that I really liked the first one, but the second one, it was a banger. So a little sneak peek for the ones
for the readers.
Yeah, for the readers for waiting. So stay tuned.
Fantastic. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. And I'll give the platform to the rest of the readers. Have a really nice day. And all of you, thank you so much for coming and giving so much love to these wonderful books. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Maria. This was really, really amazing, and to have you as well. And now, just as our lovely organizers said in the chat, I want to reiterate that we would love to have just one question per person. Tricia was kind enough to stay a little bit more with us, but just maybe try to limit yourselves to one question, and then you got her email, so you can just bump her with how many questions you wish. Okay, so now we have Andrea. You were in next in line anyway. Good.
Okay, so hi, I'm so excited right now to talk to you. Hi. So I just have one question. Yes. What was your favorite character from Shadows Between Us, and why? I think you liked most of them, but what's the one that you like more than the others?
Oh, okay, so normally I say Alessandra because she's my point of view character, obviously. But if we're not including her, I'm going to say Demodocus, the dog. I love dogs, and it just seemed natural to put a dog in the book too. I love that he's totally useless, but just totally lovable too. So.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Andrea, and thank you for understanding the one question rule. Patty.
Okay, so I don't have really a question, but I wanted to say that I love your books and I love you. But
thank you.
do some fashion designing classes, and I started to kind of redo all the clothes that Alessandra is wearing in the entire books.
Oh my gosh.
Part of a project. I don't have them with me right now, but I would.
That's okay. Will you email me? I would love to see them.
I have like only the paper with drawing on top of it. So I will kind of send them to you. So yeah, that's kind of it.
I love that. Thank you so much. I'm so excited.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for your intervention. I would love to see the design. So if you have like a social media channel or something and you post them, definitely let us all know.
Please.
Alexandra Vanvu, it's your turn.
Okay. First of all, I want to tell you I love you and I love the book that shadows between us.
Thank you.
I first read the first 5 pages on the internet, and then I knew I needed a continuation. So I bought the book, and it was probably the best decision I've ever made.
Oh, thank you.
I look forward to the next books, and my question is, how did you come up with the idea to outline Kalias in the shadows?
Oh, okay. So I write fantasy books. So while I knew this was going to be a romance and everything, I realized I needed magic in the story too. So I came up with these shadows for a couple of reasons. One was just because I needed magic so I could still call myself a fantasy author and still call this book a fantasy book. But the other thing too was that Alessandra and Kalias are so compatible. They are so dynamic on the page. There's just something about them that draws them to each other. And I realized that I needed to put something as a physical barrier between the two of them so that they didn't get together too quickly in the book, right? Because the whole point of writing a romance is to make sure that your characters don't get together until the very end, right? If they're going to get together at all. So I had to put his shadows in there so that they wouldn't get together too soon. And it made it also a plot point so that Alessandra couldn't get close to him too soon. And it made it harder for him, harder for her to get him to fall in love with her when she couldn't touch him or get too close to him. So it was an important plot point and also an important tool I used just to keep them from getting together too soon.
Okay, thanks.
You're welcome. Thank you for your question.
Thank you, Alexandra. I think it's Maria's turn now. Maria, Chris.
Oh my God. So I'm so excited. And I have only one question. When you wrote this book, what was your inspiration? Because I have no idea how to write a book.
So for me, when I start writing, well, before I even start writing, when I have an idea, I like to let it sit for maybe a month. I just leave it in my head to develop, to grow into something bigger. I don't start writing right away because I need to come up with scenes that I'm excited to write. I need to come up with some characters. I like to have a beginning, a middle, and an end before I even start writing the book. So I started with this idea of a dark romance between two villains, and I let it sit in the back of my head and just let my subconscious work on it for a month. And that's when I came up with the idea of the shadow magic, and when I came up with Alessandra's character and her backstory of killing the first boy who broke her heart and all that other stuff. And then, of course, I come up with the things as I'm writing too. But I find that if I take my seed and I leave it, I plant it in my head and I let it grow for a bit, then I'll be more prepared to write the book later. So I start with it, I let it sit for a bit, and then I start writing after the fact. But it always grew from that idea of a villainous romance.
Thank you so much. I love you. I love you.
Oh, thank you so much.
Thank you, Maria. We have Beatrice now.
Hello, I'm so nervous. I'm sorry.
Hello, it's okay. Don't be nervous.
First of all, I want to thank you that you got me into reading with the shadows between us. I am currently reading it. It was the first book I've read in like a year.
Oh, wow.
And I have a question and an impact that Sandra gave me in this part that I've read. The first question is, how many books have you wrote?
So I said my first book was my fourth book that I wrote. So I wrote 4 before I got published with the 4th one. And then in the US, my 6th published book is coming out this year. So you could say I have written 10 books because I also just turned in my book that's coming out next year for my US publisher. So in total, 10 books, 5 published right now and 3 that will never be published. So I have written lots of books. And you know what? It's okay. I have friends who didn't get published until like their 10th book was written. It was their 10th book that finally got them published. And the important thing is not which book it is that gets you published, but that you don't stop so that one of them can get published.
And the impact that Alessandra gave me is that I started caring more about myself.
Oh, I love that. Thank you for sharing that with me.
Thank you so much for answering my question.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Thank you, Beatrice. And now we have Alessia Suciu.
Hi, I'm so excited. I'm gonna be short. So if there would be a book, TV show adaptation to The Shadows Between Us, what would one thing be that you wouldn't want to change? Like the producer wouldn't be allowed to change if you had like a say in that?
If I had to say, I would want to make sure that they don't change the way Callias's shadows work. I would love to see the shadows swirling around him on the screen. I think that would look so cool. And I would just want to make sure that they don't change the way his magic works, because I think it's kind of important to the whole plot and to the whole romance arc. So I would want to make sure that that stays the same.
Thank you. I would add Alessandra's style, because
yes, of course, her dresses too. Please, she's got to be very fashionable.
Thank you so much.
Of course, you're welcome.
Thank you, Alessia. We have Rafa now.
Hello, Tricia. I'm so happy to meet you. You're such a nice person.
Oh, thank you.
I wanted to ask you, what do you think is harder, from your experience at least, to write a duology like Daughter of the Pirate King, or stand alone like, let's say, The Shadow Between Us?
Oh, that is a tricky question, because there's definitely hard things about both. I think I would say that in some ways, I will say this: writing a second book in a duology is easier than writing a brand new standalone, because I've already created the characters, I've already created the world, so it's just adding to it. But at the same time, there is something satisfying about finishing a book in one go and feeling like the story's totally done, and then there's excitement about moving on to something new. But there's also, like, when I'm writing a duology, I have to make sure that the romance doesn't happen too soon, that it doesn't end until the end of the second book. So in a way, just because there's more books, I would say duologies are harder than standalones. But there's definitely hard things about all of them. Every book is hard. That's the one thing I have learned, is that every time I sit down to write a book, I have to learn how to write that book, because no two books are written the same way. And each book has its own challenges. So it's always hard, but it's always worth it too.
Thank you so much for answering.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Rafa, for your question. I have just 8 more people with raised hands, and I really, really would like to not take more of Tricia's time. So if you guys can limit to just one question, and then you have her email as promised. Adriana Maria, it's your turn.
Hey, nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you.
I'm so nervous. So I love your book.
It's okay.
I think it has an amazing plot, and I really liked it. It's one of my favorite books. So I have a question for you. Which is your favorite character you created? You write them.
Oh, out of all my books, my favorite character is probably still Alessandra. I just love that she's sitting there thinking about the first boy she ever killed at the very, very beginning. She was just so much fun to write because there's no line that she wouldn't cross, you know? And there's just something so fun as an author to write characters who are so different from us, and who can surprise us. I love being surprised by my characters. So she was lots of fun because of that.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Thank you. And now we have Alicia.
Hi, I wish you heard me well because I don't speak very good English, but I'm a huge fan. I love your book from the first sentence, and I read it from the first day I bought it. So I have one question.
Yes.
How you came with the idea on the scene when Alessandra was coming to the ball when she knows his favorite color is green and she still come wearing a different dress, wearing a black one?
So I thought about Callias for a while, and I thought, okay, you've got this guy who everyone wants to marry off, right? And so he's so used to seeing woman after woman after woman enter the ball. All the parents want their daughters to be the one that finally catches the eye of the king. And so, of course, they're going to dress all of them in his favorite color. And I thought, Alessandra needs to be different. She needs to stand out. So in a sea of green, what's going to stand out is somebody wearing a different color. So I knew that the best way to catch a king's eye, someone who is so used to people trying to get his attention, was for her to not try to get his attention at all. So by ignoring him, by wearing a different color, by drawing the attention of other people around her so that eventually he would see her too, it just seemed like the most obvious choice for her, and like something that she would know how to do since she's so used to catching the attention of men. It's something that she's been practicing for a while, and now she gets to try out her talents on a king. So yeah, it was lots of fun, and I'm glad you liked it.
Thank you very much, and keep going writing extraordinary books.
Oh, thank you. That's the plan.
Thank you very much, Damaris. It's your turn.
Hi, Tricia. It's so nice to finally meet you.
It's nice to meet you.
I wanted to ask you, how do you feel when you're writing a book in, I don't know, 1 year, and after all of that hard work, how do you feel when people are saying they are reading it in one sitting or like 6 hours, or I don't know?
Okay, it feels good to know people like the book so much that they're reading it so fast. But at the same time, it's like, oh, I spent so much time on that, and you just consumed it in a few hours. Like, oh, but that's something I've gotten used to. You know, I put hundreds of hours into every single book, and then somebody reads it in just a few hours. And that's just the way book writing goes. You know, I put lots of work into it, and then one person consumes it very quickly. But it helps when I think about, it's not just one person reading it, it's lots of people reading it. And so when you put together all those hours that everyone is spending reading it, that's more than the amount of time I spent writing it. And that helps me feel a little better about it.
Thank you, and keep going because I love your style. I can't wait to read
more. Thank you so much. I will.
Thank you, Damaris. Daria Books, it's your turn.
Oh my God, I've waited for so long. I love you, Tricia. I want to say that. And I love the book you write it. So I have one question, and I will be quickly. If the second book will come out of The Shadow Between Us, and what we will see in it if it will come out, because I personally want to see how their relationship is going and how they rule the kingdom.
Ah, okay. Wow. Okay, so I will tell you what the new book is about. I realized I never told you guys, but I'm happy to tell you what it is about. So it is about Chrysantha. And if you will remember in The Shadows Between Us, all we hear about Chrysantha is that she's wedded to an old dying duke. And that is all we know about Chrysantha, really. Well, in her point of view, you will learn that she's doing that so that the Duke will die and she will become the Duchess and own everything that he has. So it's her way to gain power for herself. The problem is the Duke has a super attractive grandson that she did not know about. And instead of Chrysantha getting everything, the grandson gets everything. So Chrysantha has to find a way to get rid of him so that she can get it instead. So it is, of course, a romance between the grandson and her. And yes, the schemes they will go to get rid of the other one because he doesn't want her there either.
Oh my God.
So that is the premise of the book. And I hope that Calais and Alessandra will have a little tiny appearance so that you can see how things are going in the rest of the kingdom.
You left me with no words. I can say that for sure.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Daria. And now we have a person whose name I hope I don't botch. Let's see, Ceylan.
Hi.
Hi.
I want to say that I love you so much. I like your book. I love it.
Thank you.
I have one question. Why did you start writing books?
Why? Oh, so many reasons. Because I love to read them. And because when I started writing them, I realized that writing them was fun too. I started writing because it was a way for me as a very quiet, shy person to express myself, because it's harder for me to speak up when I'm talking with people. But it's a lot easier for me to put my thoughts in paper. So it's a way for me to feel heard. It's also just that I have very strong opinions about things, and I like to get those opinions out to maybe give people new perspectives on things and the way they see the world. And the other thing is that I feel like a lot of books write women the same way. They are selfless. They are quiet. They are always trying to help others. And while I think those are good qualities, maybe not being quiet, but being selfless and all that is good. But I also think that women are more than just one type. They are loud. Sometimes women are ferocious and fierce and fighters, trying to go for the things that they believe in. And I just felt it was so important to write different kinds of women doing different things, but always fighting for what they believe in and trying to achieve the things that they want. And so I also like to bring lots of different kinds of women to life in my books so that other women can see themselves.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Thank you as well. And now we have Now Book Club. Ioana.
Hello.
Hello.
I really appreciate you, and I'm really happy to be here today. My question is, did you ever feel the need to change the story, even the book was already published, to just come up with a new idea and to just want to write about it?
Oh, wow. So not usually. I will say, though, that with The Shadows Between Us, a lot of readers said that they felt the ending was too quick. And so I'm actually writing an epilogue right now for The Shadows Between Us. It's like an extra chapter with Alessandra and Calais that will be published in the US paperback version. And I'm sure we'll make it available to other publishers so that if they do publish future editions, or if they want to do The Darkness Within Us, they can get that that bonus epilogue published in there too. So usually just little things like that, but for the most part, I don't come back to my books after I finish them.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Ioana, now we have Sandra.
Yes, I'm here.
Hello.
Tricia, hello, I love you so much.
Thank you.
I just wanted to tell you a funny story because I like making people laugh.
Okay.
So I was at my aunt's vacation house and I started reading your book at night. I was sleeping with my sister and my cousin. I don't remember at what scene I was, but I just opened the book and I was like, oh, what? And one of them woke up and what happened? And her dogs started barking and the whole house woke up and they came in our room and they were like, oh my God, is everything okay? Is anybody hurt? And I just started laughing.
That is an amazing story. Thank you for sharing that with me.
I don't have a question since there were so many questions and I think I got my answers from other people's
question.
Okay, no problem. Thank you.
Thank you for listening to me.
Of course.
Thank you so much, Sandra. We have just 2 more hands raised, so I will give the floor to Christina. Christina Pop.
Hi, Tricia.
Hello.
I'm very nervous because I'm not good at English.
That's okay. Don't worry about it.
First of all, I want to tell you I'm a big fan and I love your books very, very much.
Thank you.
I want to ask you who you thought about Alessandra's character, because I think she was a very strong woman who always got she wanted, and I think she was very funny and very innovative because she invented a new style in a way, but she was also very smart, and I don't even know who to describe her anymore. So my question is, who did you manage to create this complex character?
Oh man, I did so many things to create her. Well, her love of fashion, I actually kind of stole from my mother. My mom is a seamstress. She studied fashion in college, and I thought that's a cool thing. I'll give that same quirk to my main character. So I guess I kind of took that from my mom and her love of sewing. As for I don't tell this story very often, but I will tell you guys since you've been so nice and good to me. Okay. When I was creating Alessandra's character, I decided I wanted to make sure that even though she was a villain, she would be very, very relatable, that people would understand her. And I realized that one thing that most people can relate to is being dumped, right? We all have had somebody reject us in a relationship. And so the only difference is Alessandra, after being rejected, took a knife and plunged it into the guy's heart. So I used my own experiences of rejection to create that part of her personality. So, a little bit comes from me, a little bit comes from the people I observe, but for the most part, it was just me asking myself, what do I want her to be? And the answer was I wanted her to be someone who built strong female friendships, who was helpful to her friends. I wanted her to be someone who could fall in love and influence an entire kingdom potentially. And it just her personality grew from all the things I wanted for her.
Thank you for answering my question. And I was at my memory, so I called Reddit. I love it so much.
Thank you.
I think I read 2 times.
Oh, thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Christina. And the last direct question we're going to take tonight is from Ioana. Ioana, if you can hear us.
Yes. Hi, Tricia. So
hello.
I don't really have a question, but I wanted to tell you that I love The Shadow Between Us and I can't wait for the second book.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
I think you're an amazing writer and I really love you.
Thank you. You guys are all so nice. I need to go to Romania.
Yeah, you definitely need to come here and to meet all these lovely people in person. And I'm sure that everybody would be extremely enthusiastic to get to meet you as well. I, for one, enjoyed a lot our little encounter, and I would really like to thank everybody, the organizers, the publishing house, all the participants, and especially you, Tricia, because you were very patient with us. You shared a lot of lovely stories. And I can just hope that you had time just as amazing as we had. And I would like to do something nice just to wrap up the whole meeting. So guys, I would like for everybody to open up their mics, and I will count up to 3, and then we all say, we love Tricia Levenseller. Are you ready for this? So 1, 2, 3. We love Tricia Levenseller. Amazing.
Thank you,
guys. Thank you very much, Tricia, for having been here with us. We are rooting for you to keep writing and to be amazing as you are. And thank you for everything.
Thank you so much for having me. This was so much fun. I appreciate it, you guys.
Goodbye. Have a lovely evening. Have a lovely day.
Thank you. Thank you. Goodbye, everyone.
Bye.
Love you.
Bye.